I'll open up the city council work session for Tuesday, November 10th. I need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
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 We will jump right into our public comment. We do that at every meeting. This is a very limited topic here. Anybody? Okay. First off, we're going to introduce some new staff. Who would like to start? Karen?
I'd like to introduce, first of all, Kelsey Ballenseefer. Sorry, nervous. Kelsey comes to us from Warrenton. Her name may sound familiar to you as her husband is the mayor of Warrenton. So she's very familiar with the city process. She's done extensive work in volunteer work in the library, large events like their wine festival in Astoria. So she has strong project management and administrative skills, not to mention people skills. So she's Jen's replacement as my admin. Next, we have Levi Anderson. Levi comes to us from the fire department, and he is our wastewater utility 1 worker out at the plant. And obviously, you know, Levi's skills that he brings to us, but he's already catching on and doing really well out at the plant.
Hey, I think they have to come over here so they can.
Oh, yeah.
The world. I also, Jeff Adams, Chief Development Director, also got the pleasure of having a new admin and to join the team. And I chose one even with a more maybe sing-song and difficult name, Katie Hillenhagen.
Oh.
And she came to us from Hawaii, but she grew up in Coos Bay. Is that right? And but has background as a librarian, some teaching, English as a second language, which is useful here. And so I think she's great with databases and using all kinds of different electronic and archival information and converting that and making it user-friendly for the public. And as you know, in this Zoom era, that's really one of the things we're really going to be looking forward to, and converting as much as we can to mobile and usability online. So Katie's been great, so's Kelsey, and I haven't got to work too much with Levi, but it's just great to have some support and a great team. They've been working well together, working great with front office and finance because so much of our work works with them. And I think it's really great to have a good team. So, Kate.
Great. Thank you all for stepping up and filling the house. So it feels coming in and seeing Katie and now that I see Levi driving around in a truck, so I'll be great. Thank you very much. Okay. Did you have anything to add, Bruce?
No, not to that part of it, but we are very glad to have all 3 of those folks with us.
Okay, we'll jump right into our reason for we're here tonight is an update for the budget committee. I see most of them are here. Some are online. Yes, Phyllis?
Yes.
Okay. Bruce?
Yeah, I'll do a short introduction on this. Members of the budget committee recall that we submitted a very a conservative budget as we went into this fiscal year, and we are fortunate, I think, in that we've had a stronger first quarter than what we had thought we would have. So we wanted to bring the budget committee together as soon as we had our first quarter information. And I'd like to turn it over to Lori Sari, our finance director, who is going to be able to provide information regarding our budget status at this point.
Mr. Mayor,
Hi.
councilors.
Welcome, Budget Committee. It's good to have you here. I don't know, Rusty, let's start off with the graph. Chris's favorite. You guys see this, we introduced this graph in the here. It is very tiny, not a lot of data on it. But in a nutshell, I updated it this morning to reflect the general fund portion of the room tax that we received. We received a total, and it's great news, $2.1 million. We budgeted 926 something. So we doubled it, more than doubled it, which is awesome. And so the graph you see here is the one that we presented. I think we updated it maybe in August or something for you. And because we got that last quarter in room tax ending June 30, we budgeted 0 because we just didn't know what to expect. But then we got about $500,000 that we weren't expecting that quarter either. So that was also good news. So we updated the graph at that point. And now we're going to update it with the other general fund portion. Well, that brought us to fund balance at June 30, and then, you know, the end of our fiscal year. 943,000 ending fund balance. Now, with the newest edition of room tax, it looks like we would have a 1.9 million ending fund balance. Now, that's taking into consideration, we're projecting some items that there are still some uncertainties out there. But that also includes that 1.3 million that we were using as standby funds in case something, you know, worse happened. So you could say that we probably, if this scenario pans out, we wouldn't need to tap into any of that money. So that's great. That's the graph. So now I'll go on to my, sorry, I'm suffocating. This mask, I need one like Jeff's. So my staff report, obviously the good news, room tax, I'm gonna go into that in a few minutes. I'm gonna try to just follow along page by page of my finance report that we have for you. This is for the first quarter of our fiscal year. It's for the months July, August, and September. And there's some preliminary data in this report because what I have posted to my general ledger include transient room tax, and it does not include property tax because we get those funds in October and November. But I went ahead and I could look ahead and, you know, got my staff to kind of help me out with reconciling some of that data, maybe a little bit early. So it is preliminary and it is going to change when you get the next quarter's report. You'll see slightly different numbers, I think. Yeah, you will. Okay. So on page 1, I'm going to try and stay up at a little bit higher level. If you have any detailed questions, please just feel free to ask me. Page 1, I think the takeaway here is, well, our cash position is good. The building department position is good. And one reason for that is because we built up a little reserve that could help us in the future because our building inspector was working for other cities, and that really did add and bolster the bottom line in that fund. So that's one fund that I'm not worried about really at all. The RV park revenues were down just a little bit from the prior year, July, August, September 2019. And mainly I think that's because of the fuel cost. So when COVID hit, you know, the fuel costs went down. I think they stayed coming down a little bit. So I'm not too concerned about that either from a revenue standpoint. The water fund and the wastewater fund rebounded from the last quarter we just looked at, COVID quarter. So we're good. We're exceeding the prior year 2019 quarterly revenues in water and wastewater. So that's a good sign. Also contributing to that is September 1st, we restructured our water and wastewater rates. So that's bringing in some additional money too for that 1 month of September. This is just a detailed showing of our general fund revenues. You can see that we're bringing in about 4% of our budget. That's to be expected. You can see the prior year is the same scenario. Some of the revenues are down, but it's not really too concerning to me. Business licenses down a little bit. Interest income, that's the other thing. Interest rates are dropping quite a bit. I think I budgeted a 1%.
Wow.
Based on our, the balance, maybe 6 million or something, maybe 7 million. And I don't know if we're gonna really hit the interest income target, but that'll be okay. Marijuana tax is up $10,000. So we do have 3 marijuana shops now, so that's contributing more revenue to the city. That's page 2. On page 3, this is general fund again, expenditure side of things. So we have a target of the 25%. I like to look at, make sure hopefully everything's under, but sometimes it's not, and I can explain why. Like the total public safety is at 26.79 of the budget, but the life-saving program in there happens during the summer, so that bumps that up a little bit, and then it'll start to decrease as we go into the winter months because we won't have those expenditures. Our ending fund balance is strong. It's at 1 million. This does not include any of the room tax that we just spoke about. So it's going to look even better next quarter. Page 4, now we get into the other funds of the city. I think I talked mostly about that on page 1. It's there on page 4 and 5. So move on from there. Page 6 is interesting. I gave you data on our July 1st, 2020 beginning fund balances. Every year we budget what we think we'll carry forward. And I always do this little exercise of looking at what I budgeted and what actually happened. I have to wait a few months because I'm closing June 30 year end. It takes me a couple of months to get ready for the auditor so that they have good data audit. But so I was able to do this, and you can see that all the variances are favorable. The general fund especially. Way back in COVID, I was very conservative. And so you can see that here. It's obvious that our actual beginning fund balance came in much better. So I hope I'm not being too conservative for you guys. All right, that's page 6. Page 7 is our room tax now. If you look here at the first quarter, you look at line 2, quarter 1, you'll see the number that I summarized on my staff report there, the 2.1 million. That's for all funds. And I talked a little bit about the general fund portion of that, I believe, in my graph. So this is a lot of historical data as well. You can kind of look at it and compare year to year. And that's about all I have to say on that. Page 8 is our TAP fund. And this is looking better just because of the, I did update this sheet as a preliminary amount because I went through October 31, and you can see cash available as of 10/31 was $323,919. That's reflected on line 28 there. If you look at the left-hand margin, you'll see number 28 and go over to my little arrow. TAF met and council approved awards of $261,835. So there's more than enough cash there to cover that. 9 is kind of what I summarized in my staff report. This is the budget to actual for transient room tax. You look down at the grand total, line 12, you'll see the actual amount we received, 2.1 million. And the budget of 926,605. And then we break that up into each fund's share of that room tax. So you can see 1.7 million is attributed to the general fund. We have TAF getting $183,751, and same with transient room tax fund. So those are the city taxes. We also have the county transient room tax. Their distributions are a little bit different. They don't really report on when the income is earned. They don't give us data on what the tax returns for each quarter show. They really just kind of look at the money in the bank and just give us what's there. So it's hard to get, it's been hard for me to get data from them on that's comparable to the data that we keep. So they're paying us twice a year, so.
But in theory, shouldn't it track? I mean, it's coming from the same sources. In theory, it should track with our numbers.
It doesn't.
But why not, I guess?
It
It's
doesn't,
coming from the same sources, just in a different time frame.
but they're paying us before they've collected everything. Like the last check we got was in August, and it didn't include any of the fourth quarter for the. They did. It's just they're doing it totally different than I do.
Will there be an audit? Will there be an audit?
Well, they get audited every year.
And we can see that.
Yeah, I mean.
We should.
I've had numerous conversations with Suzanne. Her department is the one that actually collects the tax. It's not the finance department that does it. And then the finance department, I really just think they look at the bank and see what's available on that certain day that they know that people are expecting checks. And then they just send us a check for whatever's there. They don't wait until they collect it all for that quarter. So it's like parts of a quarter that doesn't match our data.
Yep.
So that's kind of how that's working.
So how is that going to affect when we want to start using the money to fund a project, for instance, the school? How is that going to affect how we pay for it?
I think we'll start to see a trend of the amounts that we're getting. It's just probably going to lag what we're saying we've earned in that quarter. They're not concentrating on what's been earned like we are. What's been collected more.
We're going to have
But I
to,
think we'll start to see a trend that we can rely on.
And then, Sam,
Yeah.
if I may, Lori, so say we wait a couple of years, would that be a better way to determine if the numbers are corresponding like they should?
I don't think we need to wait that long. I think we just need to be conservative in how, like the amount we allocate to debt service if we decide to finance
Mm-hmm.
the school. And so just kind of make sure that because they are collecting from the city of Cannon Beach. It's
Sure.
the same amount of money.
Yep.
It's all there. It's just that we're getting it in a different cycle. So,
I guess my point about the couple of years was to be able to see if that truly is the correct percentage coming from, because of the way you said that they account differently than you do. Quarters not
I
matching.
can share a database with Suzanne at the county so that
Okay.
they can compare their records
Okay.
to ours to make sure that they are collecting from
Mhm.
everyone.
Okay,
And so I feel good about that.
I do too.
And then, the revenues we've gotten are pretty good. I don't think they're lowballing it or anything. It's just not matching our data.
All right.
I think that's fine. Then, so we've talked about room tax. We talked about the water and the wastewater revenues. We talked about beginning fund balances. Property tax, that's our second largest revenue stream after room tax, so it's a pretty important one. I did look ahead a little bit on that, and it's tracking almost the same as last year. I was a little worried. I thought maybe some people would not pay their property tax during this time. I talked about it with City of Warrenton and City of Astoria, trying to get their thoughts. Nobody knows. You can't, but collections so far are good, so I'm encouraged by that. And the way the property tax works, it's a pool. The whole county pools all the money in one place. And then it's distributed based on your distribution percentage, based on what taxes are imposed in your city as opposed to countywide. So all of the jurisdictions have a percentage of what they get of the total. And so even if, and each taxpayers paid all their tax, we would only still get what's totally collected. So if we had other places that weren't paying, we would be affected by that. So you just have to keep that in mind, that it's countywide and whatever's in the pool gets distributed. And so if some people aren't paying in other cities, then that affects us as well. Okay, I think I get these reports every year. I get a bunch of tax statements from the county. That's where I get this data. Another thing is I budgeted low in property tax as well. It looks like we'll be fine even if we don't, even if some people don't pay. I think I factored enough into that to kind of protect us a little bit. The assessed value of the city of Cannon Beach is, we're in the billions now. Of our assessed value, we hit $1 billion, so we're at $1,017,352,175. So that's on page 11. You can see that in that first column, and you can see back to 15, 16 to see kind of the trend there and the percentage increases each year. This increased 2.73% from the prior year. And then I show you what the permanent rates raise and our road fund raises. So we're going to get a total of 1.2 million for the general fund and the debt service fund, and we'll be getting $263,512. So I should say those are the taxes imposed. We only get what they collect, so that was factored in that. And then I give you on page 12, I give you a comparison of all the cities in the county, just so if you're curious, you can take a look and see how we compare to them. I'm done.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I feel good about the way we are right now. So, but still, we have to think about tomorrow and keep that in mind, I think. But, things are not bad here.
Thank you, Lord.
Okay. Any members of the Budget Committee have questions or comments?
I do, if I may. On the investment income, I'm assuming we have an investment policy.
We don't have a formal investment policy, no. But we bank with the GIP, local government investment fund, and try to keep the bulk of our funds in there and just take out what we need for operating.
Right. Is there any opportunity to make up some of that difference in terms of switching investments around?
When I got here, we were invested in what's that company's trying to remember now. We were in treasuries, we were investing in treasuries.
Right.
And the fees were just eating up all of the returns. With the LGIP, there are no fees, and they're very good at investing in the state of Oregon, I've learned. I don't know what they do, but they're very good at investing. So their interest rates have been.
Type of thing, is it municipal bonds, is that what they invest in?
They invest in a bunch of different things, yeah. But when, just recently, of course, based on the economy, interest rates are falling.
Right.
But for a while, we had interest rates of 2.5%. So it was really good.
Yeah.
So I feel good about keeping our money there.
Yeah. Well, no question. I was just curious what flexibility we had in terms of investing.
Yeah, well, we can invest up in other vehicles with limitations.
Right. That's what I was
The
curious
state law
about. Yeah.
limits us on what we can do.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, the council would have to approve a change in that investment program if we decide to do something other than where we are now.
Well, yeah, I would bring that to
So
you.
that's,
Yes.
there's still statewide limits.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
Thank you. One of the things that we talked about when we approved the budget was that if things were less, we would make adjustments. And if the revenues were greater, we would take a look at things that we might need to fund, even though we said it wasn't absolutely critical earlier on. I think, and I'm sorry, and also when we were talking about Cannon Beach Elementary and using the county TLT tax, that there would be cash flow issues with that. I think that it's possible that as we get ready to move forward with the school project, we may need to look at some other sources to try to fund some things rather than possibly waiting until January or next July to get those revenues. So not saying we have to do it right now, but there's potential for some expenditures to come up. And also if we get through our decision-making process and make some choices as far as what we might want to do from a design and construction standpoint, we're going to need to fund those contracts also. And so, it may be that we look at a loan, it may be that we look at or at waiting, or even a loan, in some sort of an internal loan. So that was kind of what we had contemplated. And the situation is still the same. It's just we're a little bit better in terms of the revenues coming in. So that may be a follow-up discussion.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody online from the budget committee have any comments or questions? We'll have to hear from you somehow. Alicia? Unmute Alicia, please.
No questions. I just wanted to say hi. I'm good. I'm listening.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Since the first quarter came in higher than budgeted, what kinds of assumptions then should we make going forward? Are we assuming that room tax is going to continue to be higher than we had thought, or what kind of scenarios are we looking at going forward for the rest of the year at this point?
Lori and I, the discussions that we've had is that we're not looking to change assumptions yet. We don't know what's going to happen. We could have a big drop. So we have a budget that allows us to continue to operate. We have a positive revenue side right now so that if there's things that come up, we can deal with those. But we already have a conservative budget, and it certainly would fall to the budget committee if you wanted to change any of those assumptions.
Very good. Okay, any comments, any questions? No? Thank the budget committee for coming and sharing, because we felt a little concerned that things were a little dramatic and everybody needed to be on the same page. So that's why we invited everybody to join in. If there are no more comments or questions, Bruce, I think we'll just close this one up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Okay.
Lori.
And thank you, everybody, for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything for
Bye,
today
everyone.
from the council?
Oh, Phyllis,
Phyllis,
Yes,
did she have something?
do you have a
I
comment?
just said,
Oh.
I said it was just nice seeing everybody.
Hey, nice seeing you. Anything for good of the order? Okay, we'll take a break and I'll shut this one down. We'll start our next meeting in a half hour.
Thanks, everybody.